Hi, hello everybody. I'm very happy to be here again. Thank you so much to Greg Custer for letting me have this date. I understand that someone canceled, so I'm very happy that I could use this day to present this for you. And we're going to be talking about the Christmas celebrations in Mexico. And you might wonder how the Mexicans celebrate Christmas. Or maybe you have been here for a while and you have been out in town when they're doing specific things and you see them and go like, what are they doing, you know? Can I go and ask? Can I be a part of this? Can I take pictures of this? How appropriate is it to approach the Mexicans while they're doing their festivities? And what can you learn from all this? So, first of all, we need to remember that traditional festivities are influenced by religion mostly, and they have always Spanish elements which were mixed with the indigenous traditions and the indigenous elements. So it's all a mixture of cultures, and that's why we have such a variety of things. And also we need to consider that Mexico has different cultural regions, because the north and the southeast are totally different. So all these different things that happen in every region get together with the traditions, and they give them a specific and special taste to whatever happens in different places. So, the Christmas time was related to the winter solstice and the agricultural cycles, and those were the festivities that the pre-Hispanic peoples used to celebrate. So, when the Spanish came and started the evangelization of the towns, they figured out that they just couldn't like come and erase completely the culture and the religion, because people would not accept it. As much as they tried, they kept doing their sacrifices, they kept doing their offerings, and they kept praying to their gods and worshiping them. So they had to adapt what already was there and to mix things so that it would be more easy for the indigenous peoples to accept this. So they had to adapt it, and it was more easy to relate emotionally, and because of the calendar of the festivities that the pre-Hispanic peoples already had. One example of a festivity is a celebration that was called Panquetzalistli, and this was dedicated to the god Huitzilopochtli, who was the god of war. He was a protector of warriors for the Aztecs. He was also a god of the sun and sacrifice. So, around the time of when we celebrate Christmas, traditionally there was this festivity to this god. So this was something that people used to gather around, have a community festival, have decorations, have singing, have fire. So this was kind of elements that they used again for the new festivities that they created. Huitzilopochtli, he fought a daily battle with night and the dark forces of night to be reborn every morning. So the solstice of winter was related to that, as how the sun was renewed and everything came from winter to going back to spring again, from darkness to light, from cold. Not really cold, because you know that it's not that cold here, but it was colder than summer, definitely. So it was a renewal and a change, and they worshipped this. So traditions were transformed and adapted and not exactly replaced. And there are types of traditions. There are three types, according to investigator Aurelio Gonzalez. So ones are mandated by the church or holy days of obligation, which include going to mass and doing like praying and religious kinds of activities. The others are the patron saints, like the ones that are happening in Ajijic right now for St. Andrews. In every place in Mexico has a patron saint and a specific date for the saint to be celebrated. So during these times people go and throw around fireworks, as you have witnessed. They make different things, like all the community organizes, and they have certain days for every group of the community. So, for example, they usually take 9 days, which is called a novena. So on every day, a different group of people from the community is in charge of the festivity. And they are in charge of doing like the fireworks, like it's called castillo, castle, the big thing that they light up. So it's very expensive. So they get together, and for many months before, they start gathering money to pay for all the things that they're gonna do in the festivities. And there's food, there's music, drinking, it's a lot of partying, you know. if you really like think about it, I mean, why would saints enjoy seeing drunk people, you know, like, it's kind of weird, but well, the thing is that it's a tradition, that's the way it's lived now, and many people don't really go to church, they're not really devoted Catholics, because you might think, oh, Mexicans are so devout. Not that much. I mean, there are people who are, but many people are not anymore, and it's just a tradition that spread all over our country, and it has a lot more to do now with community living than with really the extremely fanatic religious thing, you know, as it was in the colony, for example, you know, so it has changed a lot. So sometimes you might think, oh, maybe I'm being disrespectful by doing this. And don't think like that. I mean, most Mexicans are not really that devoted. I mean, so you shouldn't be very concerned about that, because it's really different now. So, depending on the region, celebrations change. For example, a very old tradition that we have, especially in the center states of Mexico, is pastorelas. Pastorelas are representations of the trip that Mary and Joseph took to get to the city of Bethlehem when baby Jesus was about to be born. So they had to be, I printed some pictures, they're kind of small, maybe if you could like pass them around or something so you can see it. So they were traveling, and the Virgin Mary was pregnant, and they needed lodging. That's what posada means, asking for lodging. So they had to go and look for a place for the baby to be born. So in posadas, people gather at someone's house, at the church, wherever they're going to do the event, and they divide into two groups. One group is on the outside, and the other one is on the inside. And they have a specific song that is sung all the time. It's the same song always. And the people who are on the outside start singing to be let in the house by the other ones. They carry little candles, which also has to do with the pre-Hispanic traditions of having fire lit. And the candles represent faith and hope. So they go around and they bring the pilgrims, which are Mary and Jesus, who can be two people dressed up as Mary and Joseph, or they can be a figure, like a clay reproduction or something like that, or even a printed image of the pilgrims, which are Joseph and Mary again, and Mary is usually depicted on a donkey. So they start doing the singing, and finally the group inside recognizes that it's them, because at first they don't want to let them in, so they go for a little while singing, the ones outside, and then the ones inside answer back in singing as well. And they do that for it's about 10 verses, and finally they get in the house, and they all are very happy, and then there's more singing, and there is food usually. So it's about sharing, about happiness, and the usual food for posadas are tamales, atole, buñuelos, like all the traditional food. Nowadays, there are many gatherings that are called posadas, but have nothing to do with traditional festivities. These are like gatherings in offices, at school, and people just come around and do like Christmas exchange of gifts and eating, drinking. So there's two kinds of posadas right now, which are those which are not traditional, which are like modern day, we could say, and the traditional ones. The traditional ones go on for 9 days, because they are supposed to be the novena, I mean the 9 days before Christmas. So they go from the 16th to the 24th. And for example, here in Ajijic, someone I work with has told me that when she was a little girl, they used to do it in the courtyard of the church. So the priest that they had then would gather candy from all the people for the kids, and they would go and have their piñata there and do the posada. Then he was moved from Ajijic, the priest, so they started doing it in the different barrios, like different neighborhoods. And apparently they still do it like that. So, if you're going on the street and you happen to see this, can you take pictures of what's going on? Or can you be like, oh, can I be involved? Well, you have to ask for permission. If people are okay with it, you can do it. And if not, well, not. But you have to ask, because that will be like the appropriate thing to do. Probably they're going to be okay with you like taking pictures and maybe coming closer to witness it. So don't be afraid of doing that, because for people, it's important that others learn about our culture so they can have a better appreciation of what we do. And it's beautiful to share traditions, you know, to have people know what you're doing, why you're doing it. It's something very special, and especially coming Christmas time, people get to be like happier and everything, you know. So don't be afraid to ask and to try to take part as far as they allow you. Let's see. So in the pastorelas, we were talking about the traveling of Mary and Joseph to have the baby. As you saw in the pictures, people dress up, and there are some specific characters. We have someone dressed up as Joseph, as Mary, and we have the devil who tries to keep the shepherds from getting to worship baby Jesus. That's the main theme of the pastorela. So then comes angels, Archangel Michael, above all, and fights with the devil, and he defeats him, and the shepherds finally go and worship baby Jesus. Pastorelas are held at the church, in cultural centers, in schools, in the public square. You're probably going to be seeing one of these representations because they're always done in Christmas. They come from 15th century Spain, and at first they had a different name. They were called coloquios, and in the 19th century they were finally transformed into a Christmas tradition in Mexico, and ever since it has been played like every year in different ways. The budget, well, has a lot to do with the way that people dress, but there are like very simple ones that are like beautiful ones. Some are very mischievous, some are only for adults, some have children participating. So there's like a lot of different things with that. But it's basically having fun, making something very serious and formal, a little bit, yes, funnier and spicier. So that's what it's all about. The posadas were celebrated at first by the Augustinian priests, and at the posada, after you go inside the house, then it comes the breaking of the piñata. So we have that piñatas are a symbolic element. The piñata is made traditionally from a pot made of clay. The pot is decorated as beautifully as possible because it represents Satan and the temptation. It has to have 7 cones, 7 points, because they represent the capital sins. And then people go blindfold because it represents the faith, and with the stick they go and break it, and whatever comes out of the piñata are like the gifts from God, grace, and the stick represents virtue. So it's a totally, the real meaning is a totally symbolic thing. Now we have piñatas for birthdays, for any kind of parties, in all different shapes, like superheroes, whatever, you know. But the traditional thing is this, you know, the one that I'm describing to you. And it's made with paper, and it has to be very, very bright and very beautiful, because it represents temptation and all that bad, those bad things that Satan uses to attract people, you know. So that's the whole idea of the piñata. And usually, the piñata is filled with candy, but traditionally it should be filled with fruit. It should have the jocotes, which are some little fruits that we have here every year for winter time, which is, they can be made in different ways, prepared. They can have apples, they have oranges, tangerines, sticks of cane, in little parts, and they also have a specific candy that's only made for Christmas time, for the posadas, which is called colación. Colación are some small candies that are really, really hard. They're not really that good, but they're really, really hard. And they are made from aniseed, and they can have bits of citrus fruits or peanuts, and they have, usually the shape is in there, the pictures, it's got like little spikes around it. But there's different kinds of those. So those are sold especially for piñatas during Christmas time. And now traditions have changed a bit, and people usually don't make the piñata out of clay pots anymore because sometimes they hurt the kids or whoever breaks them, so they decided now to do it in cardboard, something like that. which sometimes it's harder to break, actually. Yes. And also now we can see them that they're filled with like commercial candy, which has changed a lot from the original thing. Now they can even have like little toys inside, whatever people wants to get in it. But the traditional piñata should be filled with this, fruits, and all those kinds of things, and the traditional candy colación. That's the original filling of the piñata. So everyone goes and gathers the filling, and then they have tamales and punch and different things to eat. And they sing something called villancicos, which could be like Christmas carols. Villancicos also come from Spanish tradition, and we still sing, many of them are very related to the Spanish traditions nowadays. You will hear them in the supermarket, and wherever store you go in Christmas, you will listen to this music, because it's the traditional music for this season. Children nowadays have the Christmas festival, and before they only sang these kind of songs, and they used to perform dress as shepherds, and it was more attached to the traditional thing. Nowadays, people, especially in like private schools, they do something else. They do it more American style. They dress as Santa, sing and dance to songs in English. So it has also changed. All the Christmas celebrations have changed a lot with the integration of different cultures. And I think that's beautiful, because traditions are important because they tell us where we come from, and they explain a lot of things to us. But it's also important to take things from other cultures and make new traditions, because the world can stay the same forever. So things have to change a bit, you know, and it's something that children and young generations demand, that there be something new and different, because young people get bored. Yes. So we have to show them that there's things that can be added to what they already know, but there's also a way to keep something special in them that will never be lost, and I think that's very important. So after the piñatas and all the posada time, there comes Christmas Eve, Noche Buena, that's what we call it. Noche Buena are also the flowers, the red flowers that you see around Christmas. What do you call them? I'm not sure. Yes. Those. So we call them Noche Buena, which is good night. That's what it means, like good evening. So because of the Christmas Eve is that good night. So on Christmas Eve, well, people gather mostly with family. New Year's Eve is more like for friends, but Christmas is more like for family. So Christmas Eve, people gather together, and they do like traditional cooking, and it's very beautiful because you can see like, oh, my grandma's recipe, and you know, all these beautiful family things, you know. Some people open the gifts on Christmas Eve, some open them on the Christmas morning. And in most Mexican houses, you will see the nativity scene, el nacimiento. Nacimientos are traditionally a big thing. It's like a huge table filled with lots of things, and people make with paper. They make like mountains, and then they get like little plants and things, and they buy a lot of clay figures. And a traditional nacimiento has to have the manger with Joseph and Mary, and the baby Jesus is usually put there when it's Noche Buena, when it's Christmas. So you have to have it like empty there, like the little cradle for him. And then they put the baby Jesus when he's born. And it also has a mule and an ox, because they were supposed to give, with their breath, they warmed the baby, so they're supposed to be part of the nativity scene. There's an angel, there's a devil, there's a hermit, there's lots of shepherds, lots of different animals. People even put like tigers, you know, whatever they want. Yes. They have usually a lake or a river or a cascade or something like that with that they can make with a mirror or with cellophane paper. It's a very creative thing, and people have like the Bethlehem star, and it's a very, very big thing. Many people don't do it like that anymore. They just do like something small. But in very traditional homes in town, they still have the big thing. You can even see it from the windows. Or maybe sometimes they put it in the garden, in the jar, because it's so big that it doesn't fit inside the house. And they leave it there until after the day of on January 6th, which is the Three Kings Day, because you also have to put the three kings in the nativity scene. So when it's the time, you put them there, because they're also part of it. And you can find the little figures for the nativity scene. They can sell them at markets, traditional markets. There's a very big traditional market in Guadalajara that's been there for many years. And they sell their like pine trees and all these little figures and everything that you would need for a traditional Mexican Christmas decoration. And also we have added the tradition of the Christmas tree, which wasn't really something that comes from pre-Hispanic peoples here. But the Christmas tree was officially introduced by Maximilian and Charlotte, who were the emperors a long time ago. This was in 1864, the first time that they installed a Christmas tree in the castle of Chapultepec in Mexico City. So they had the dinner, and all the aristocrats came in and were like fascinated with the Christmas tree because they hadn't seen that before, you know. So it was them, the first who started with this tradition. After Maximilian was executed, the tradition stopped, and we went back to more Mexican celebrations. and then about 10 years later, it was reinstalled by one of the generals of the Mexican army who put it in his home, and people started like copying it again. So that's, from then on, we have had Christmas trees. And here also Christmas trees can be, you know, plastic or natural and decorated as people want to do it. We do the same thing, we put like the gifts under the tree, and it's just like in every other place. So what really differs is probably just the nativity scene, which is something very characteristic of Mexico. And after the Christmas time comes the Three Kings Day, which is celebrated on January 6th. So children make little letters asking for toys and presents to the kings. Also for Christmas, they used to write the letter to baby Jesus. Now they do it also for Santa, but the traditional thing is to do it for baby Jesus because he's the one who's going to bring the gifts. And at paper stores you can find like the formats of the little letters, and they have like the baby Jesus there like printed, so people can go buy them and write them and just like throw it in a balloon or whatever they want. Yes. So for the Three Kings Day, the traditional thing is to put the letter in a shoe. In the morning, the kid will come and will find a present in the shoe. The shoe has different stories why we're using a shoe. One story says that children gave baby Jesus shoes because he was barefoot, so that might be one of the reasons. And there's also another reason, which is like the shoes were something valuable to give people. And another one is that it's a clue for the kings to know who the gift is going to be for, because they see the shoe, oh, this is him, and so there's different stories about that. There's not really one specific source to know why they're using a shoe. On the Three Kings Day, we used to have a Three Kings bread, which is also an European tradition, because that's where it really came from. This is supposed to be originated in an ancient Roman tradition, which was called Saturnalia, which were the festivities for Saturn. So in those times, they hid a broad bean seed in the bread, and whoever found it meant good fortune for them. So now the Three Kings bread is, we have here a picture of a traditional one. And there are the ingredients that it has. It has flour, yeast, milk. It should have 10 eggs per pound of flour to be an appropriately done bread, which has to be done at home because that's totally not commercial. So yes, so the traditional bread has like that, and it has more yolks than whites because it should be like jello color. So it's a very beautiful thing to see because it's decorated in different colors. It has figs, it has orange and lemon peel, which is like sugared. It has sugar on top of it. It's very sweet. Nowadays we have them with filling, and people fill them with chocolate and Nutella and whatever they want. That's really not a traditional bread. The bread traditionally has no filling at all. But these are things that people have to come up with because there's so much competition, so they need to make something new. So, oh, this is more attractive, you know, so that has changed tradition a lot, but the traditional one has no filling. So that's the one you should try to get so you can actually taste what it should taste like. And it also has to be done with orange water blossom. And you take the orange blossom and you boil it a little bit, and with the water, you put the water in the mixture for the bread. That's the traditional recipe. Also for the bread that they sell for the Day of the Dead, it also has the same kind of blossom water. That it has to have it, that's the way that it has to be done. And before, it used to have only one little figurine. It's a baby Jesus. Now they're made in plastic, but before they were made in porcelain. And whoever gets the little baby Jesus is going to be the person responsible for buying tamales for the feast that happens on February 2nd for Candlemas, Dia de la Candelaria. So this will be the godfather of the baby. Nowadays, also, the bread has several figurines because most people don't want to pay for the whole thing on their own. Yes, so they have 5 or 6 little figures and then they get together and among all of them they do the festivity. But it should be just one. So when we get to February 2nd, for the Candlemas celebration, we have that people traditionally have in their house, every family, a baby Jesus, like a real figure, and they dressed it up. So the godfather of the baby, who's the one who got the little doll in the King's bread, is supposed to take the baby and dress the baby and take the baby to church to present it in church on the day, on February 2nd, which is Candlemas Day. And this represents, this is a festivity of the Virgin, La Virgen de la Candelaria, and it represents light, like, how do you call this? It's a purification of the Virgin and something new, you know? And it was associated also to pre-Hispanic traditional agricultural festivities around these dates, offering tamales at the beginning of the planting of the crops. So again, the church, the priests, they did this around the same time so that people would be more related to that. So the baby Jesus is taken to church, and that is the end of the whole Christmas festivity cycle on February 2nd with the Candlemas festivity. So what's going to happen here on Lakeside? Well, you're going to see all of these festivities because this is what people do mostly in this region of Mexico. So you can go and buy your King's bread. Now you know what it means. So if you get the little doll, you're like, what is this? Well, now you know what you're supposed to do. And just enjoy. I mean, it's time for enjoying, for having fun, for celebrating. And I think it's also something important that I want to mention, because I've seen on Facebook groups that people complain about the fireworks. And I find it very funny that some get like really angry about that and go like, oh, you shouldn't complain, it's just a tradition. Well, I really think that you shouldn't be feeling bad if you don't like it. I think you can express your opinion, because that's what social media is supposed to be for, right? I mean, anyone can express what they think. And if you don't like the fireworks, I think that's fine, and you can say it, and no one should be like angry at you because of that, because tradition is a lot more than fireworks. So really, if you feel bad about, oh, I don't like this, you shouldn't, because you don't have to like it, you know? It doesn't mean, I mean, it's part of your life because you're here, but it doesn't mean you have to be, oh yeah, everything they do is perfect. I mean, because it's not. That's it's here and in every other country in the world, so it's the same thing. So trying to adapt is also difficult, you know, because there's many things that are annoying, that are hard, that you might be like, why didn't I know about this before? But you should always try to find like the best, and also try to be patient, because Mexicans can be difficult sometimes, but I think that's just like normal, and just take it with patience, because it's not easy for many people to get along with someone from another culture, because they were not raised to understand, which is the basic thing. Understanding each other, that's what means liking each other. If we don't understand each other, there's no way we're going to get along. So I think that's important because of what you do here with this kind of talks, trying to understand each other a little better. And we can see that in the, like deep down, we're all the same. We all like to get in community, we all like to celebrate, to eat, to have fun. So that's the basic thing of festivities everywhere in the whole world. And I invite you to enjoy this time, to have a beautiful Christmas, and to try to add something Mexican to your festivity, whatever it might be, a flower, a figurine, whatever. And thank you, because I enjoyed this very much.